How's it going, guys? Hope everybody's doing great. Regardless of what's going on here in the world, just stay positive and everything will be nice and great. Just wanted to introduce myself for the video and hope you guys enjoy how to paint your own wheel calipers. I've been extremely busy with the family, decided to take some time off a little bit and enjoy some time with them. Went out camping and spent some time with them, so that's been keeping me busy on top of work. I do have another video coming up when in regards to the polyurethane inserts for my torque mounts, so I'll be doing that soon, so just stay tuned for that, and I'll be having that anytime soon for that. For all you new viewers, if you guys are curious about the modifications I have on the XRS, I'll put it down in the link below. I don't have much. I'm just working on it little by little, and yeah, little by little I'll start putting more things on the XRS. But for the meantime, enjoy the video, stay safe, wear a mask, wash your hands, and hope everybody's doing great. Thanks, guys. So this is the portion I didn't record on cleaning the brake calipers. What you basically need is really simple, is a garden hose, running water, and while you have the brake calipers being rinsed out, you use this stuff right here. Use some type of brush to brush it out. If you want, you could use a little bit of brake cleaner at the same time, and just basically start scrubbing away. You could use a scotch pad also, or just a plain simple brush. You're not going to get all dirt and grime and grease off of it, so don't worry about it. That's the reason why we have the next process of prepping the brake caliper. Okay, so after we clean this up, what I started to do, and this is the most tedious part of everything that's going on, is actually sanding and dremeling this. I decided just to Dremel everything and not just sand. If you guys want to sand, that's perfectly fine, but Dremeling all this, and you know, the cracks and the edges and the inside holes and craters, whatever you want to call it, it's very tedious. So I actually got started on this, so just to show you exactly what needs to be done, I'm gonna do this quick demonstration for you guys. Left this small piece right here, and I still need to do this right here, so I'll go ahead and do that for you guys so you can see exactly how I did it. So this is a Dremel that I'm using. It has a certain bit that I love, for the fact that I could get into the edges right here. You get the whole kit of bits at the hardware store for a fair price, from $10 to $15, and I also got some sanding wheels right here, this polisher right here too. So we're just gonna get started on this specific bit right here and start working through the whole caliper, in which I already got started, and just gonna demonstrate right here for you guys exactly how to do it. Make sure you guys use some safety glasses and a mask. I know it's hard to get a mask right now during this time of crisis, but I happen to have one, so I'll be using that to get any dust particles. No dust particles while I'm breathing them. And go ahead and just get started. Turn it on. It's a very simple process. It just takes a lot of time. You absolutely don't want to rush this at all. Now, as you guys can see, this is just one portion right here. This is pretty much your prep work, and your prep work says a lot on how your paint is going to stick. Now you could just simply clean them off, you know, do a quick sand with the sandpaper, paint them, and you'll be good to go. You could go that route of just cleaning them and start to prime them, or even paint them after that, and do a quick, before that, do a quick scrub with some sandpaper. You could definitely do that, but I'm just tedious with some work of mine, and this is the route I decided to go to. So just to show you guys a heads up of what I decided to do. One other thing that I do want to mention too is that I would probably sandblast them next time if I could get my hands on a sandblaster. They're not that expensive at Harbor Freight. They're around $100 plus the sand, of course. So that's probably something I will invest in the future. But for now, this will have to do. Okay, guys. So I would like to say I'm all finished up. Now this process, you're going to follow the same thing for the front side of the car, which is the caliper bracket and the caliper for the front. Just follow this tedious process of just cleaning up and grinding down whatever material you need. This is pretty much the best I'm going to get. There's some spots that I couldn't get in really good, so I would like to say this is pretty much as perfect that I'm going to get it. I'm not too worried about the insides here, since this is the rear passenger caliper, and it's basically going to be facing like this, and most of the dust and debris is going to be stuck inside here, for the fact that when you go to the car wash and power wash your car, power wash your wheels, you're going to get most of the dust from the brakes off, but the insides right here, you're honestly not going to get off, and just going to be collecting. So there's no point for me to be very tedious inside there. So that being said, this is pretty much just done as far as prep work. So the next thing I'm going to do is tape off the caliper guide pins, the bushings right here, tape that off, the piston over here, tape that off, and the bleeder valve, I'm going to tape that off, and I already got a plug going on right here. If you don't have a small plug to plug this where the brake fluid line goes in, you could just find a 8mm bolt that could, fit right in and have that. I just happen to have this right here, so just go ahead and start taping off all the stuff that doesn't not need to be painted on top of the bleeder valve itself. Alright guys, so next what we're going to do is really simple. You're going to grab a rag and some rubbing alcohol of your choice. Pour it on the rag. You could also use paint thinner. That's another method of cleaning, but I just happen to have some rubbing alcohol laying around the house, and just go away and start cleaning it as much as you can. Now again, you're not gonna get everything nice and perfect unless you sandblast it and have that time and patience to actually invest on that, which is perfectly fine and perfectly doable. I'm just working on a budget right now, so maybe someday in the future, I'll definitely have one. But for now, this will be it. It's not so hard. Just basically clean it as much as you can and move on forward. All right. Once we achieve that, grab some scotch tape of your choice and just go ahead and start to tape off all your bushings from the caliper guide pins and your brake piston, of course. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. So everything's pretty much masked off, including the bleeder valve. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit it with the blowgun and do that, blow it down just to be sure there's no dust and debris particles laying around, and I'll hit it one more time with the rubbing alcohol. Alright, so we're gonna blow dry this real quick. Have my blowgun. And we're gonna hit it again with the rubbing alcohol solution so we can clean it again. The reason I blew some air on it so that all that dust particles I didn't get with the rag could actually blow off, so it'll be good to go. Okay, so first we're gonna hit it with this flame-proof white paint so I could hide the color a lot more better. I also have the brake caliper hanged up with the bungee cord right here. I just basically cut the cord up, wrapped it around the ladder, hanged it up, and hooked it right here. Grab some paint and start doing light coats. And we'll flip it around once it's dry. Okay, so after I did about 3 or 4 coats of that specific color that I'm using, I went ahead and used the semi-gloss clear coat on it. So I got that, I sprayed a few coats on that. Try not to overdo it, otherwise you will run the clear coat. Same thing with the paint. So what you want to do, just spray evenly and take your time with it, otherwise you will run your coats. So this is pretty much all dried up. So next what we're going to do is basically heat it with the heat gun so the paint can be nice and cure, and after that just let it rest and let it settle and let it cure. Alright, so very simple process. Start taking away the tape, and if I could do this with one hand, unfortunately I can't. So go ahead and take off the tape and move on forward with any necessary tape removal. So next we are going to install the caliper. First we're going to do is connect the brake fluid line. So just grab your bolt and make sure you have one washer on this side and another washer feeding on this side, so you're going to have 2 in total, one right here and one on the other side. All right, so I went ahead and installed the 2 washers, one right here, one right here. All right, there you have it installed right there. Just got to tighten up with a socket real quick. You have your thimble right there, your hook, and then of course your bolt insert that goes right there. All right, calipers all compressed. I decided to use the seat clamp right here. Just basically did that and went ahead and pushed it in. Now if you're afraid of scuffing up your paint, go ahead and put something on this side. In my case, I just used a rubber glove right here. Put it right here on this side and start working your magic to compress the caliper. All right, next we're gonna grease up these guide pins right here. So basically what you do is on these bushings right here, you basically want to press on them. If you're lucky enough, they'll come right out. If not, like in my case, they're really hard. Seems like in the past they haven't greased them up, so that's why it's really hard to take off. But basically just push on it and
this tube right here should pop out, and basically you just got to grease it up with some caliper grease. All right, so that's the caliper grease I'm using. Basically just lube them up. If you like, go ahead and grease up the inside right there and just basically pop it right back in. I'll show you guys how to do that. How to use my other hand and slide it in. And once you do so, it should pop back into place in the grooves. Just double check it, and once you do that, you're gonna have some excess grease. Just take it off, wipe it off, do what you gotta do, just like that. And now this guy should move a lot more easier because obviously you greased it up, so should be good. All right, go ahead and start installing the caliper. Long bolt up top and shorty bolt at the bottom. Just remember, these bolts right here do not take off. They pertain to the caliper, so you don't want to do that. So go ahead and do that. Start tightening up and start to station everything so you can start tightening everything down. All right, go ahead and start stationing your brake pads. These are the brake pads I decided to go with, O'Reilly, just for the fact that's the only thing they had in stock, so went ahead and did that. And don't tighten up anything yet until, and don't spill it on your container too, until you have everything lined up. Go ahead, just slide it in, and again, since everything's not bolted down yet, you can move this and slide it right in. Same thing with the other side, right there. Next, slide in your pins with the dimples pointing outward. Before anything else, go ahead and grease them up. As you can see, there's some grease starting to ooze out, so go ahead and clean that up and station that, get ready to go. All right, go ahead and grab your hardware, your first piece, connector right there. There should be some holes right here, another hole right there. And go ahead and just clip it in. Should slide right in. You are gonna fight it a little bit, so you have to move around the pins so you could get it, and so it could be nice and flush towards the bottom. All right, lastly, I already got started on this hardware right here, this clip. It's pretty easy. You're gonna do it on the same side. What you have to do is pretty straightforward. Just basically grease it up, hook it under right here, just like that. It doesn't need to go into a hole like this one does right here. Just go under the pin, and then on this side you have this hook. That hook needs to go on that hole. At the same time, before anything else, you have this corner right here poking out. That's basically have to wrap around the brake pad over here. Once you do, wrap it around, go under, and go ahead and just hook it onto the hole, and it should not go anywhere else. Just like that, pretty easy and good to go. 14 mil socket, and tighten up your brake line. Don't go too nuts, just enough. Same thing over here, 14 mil bolt. Don't forget, you have one up top and one at the bottom. All right, bottom caliper. Bottom bolt. Go ahead and just tighten up as much as you can without stripping it. You'll feel the tension on it. There we go. All right, go ahead and crack open your bleeder valve. Feels like it's open. Go ahead and take off your clamp. And make sure your brake fluid level is high, and just wait for it to start to ooze out. Just give it a few minutes, about 5 to 10 minutes. Make sure your fluid level is high. As you can see, there's a mark right there, and you can see a little bit of a shadow going on right there, so it's pretty much full. Now when you make sure that the fluid level of the brake fluid is full, at the same time you want to keep that cap open from the reservoir while having this bled. And as you can see, there's a small puddle action going on right there. You can barely see it, but I could see it. There we go. Just a small little puddle action, and it's starting to pour it a little bit, so just make sure it starts to drip and drip. There we go. Just like that. Let it drip for a minute or two. Once that happens, basically all the air pockets is pretty much out of the system, and go ahead and tighten it up. Now, you don't want to do it too much for the fact that you'll ruin your paint. I just found out that if you want to have some good paint stripper, brake fluid will be the way to go, because brake fluid will completely demolish paint for some odd reason. So once you get that going, and once it starts dripping, just like that, all your air pockets again are out of the line, so you go ahead and tighten it up. So I'm just gonna give it a few more minutes, tighten it up, put on the wheel, take it on for a test drive. All right, first thing is first, the bracket for your brake caliper goes in. Grab your bolts, really simple. There you go. And you can see the bolt holes right here. All right, you have a bolt right there and another bolt down here. Here we go. Slide it in, make sure it's flushed. You start going at it. Oh shit. So grab your 17 mil ratchet, socket, and start going at it. Next, once you got the 2 bolts for the bracket all tightened up, grab your hardware for your brake pads and slide them right in. All right, so I'm gonna reuse my brake pads since they still have a little bit of life left to, I would say like 60% left of life with them, so I'm gonna reuse them. Go ahead and grease up the contact points just like that, and then just go ahead and slide it right in. Now this one's gonna be a little bit of a pain, but it's doable. All right, so I managed to slide it in. Just this pin right here was poking out, so I bend it out of the way so it could slide right in. All right, so the inner part of the pads, this side of the pad slid right in quite easily. Next, what we're gonna do is grease up these guide pins. So what you basically do is just make sure this boot isn't in contact with this pin and slide it right out. All right, so the old grease, just grab an old rag, wipe it out, and then put some fresh new grease, and then simply just slide it back right in, just like that, and the boot should snap in right by itself. And proceed the same thing with the bottom guide pin. All right, and now you grab your caliper and it should slide right in, since we already decompressed the piston right here, just like that. And go ahead and grab your bolts and start screwing them in place. All right, so pro tip, this guide pin has like a shape form on each side, And basically what it does is when you tighten up the bolt, it prevents it from moving, and it actually bottoms out to the caliper. Same thing at the bottom, so just make sure you position it correctly, otherwise you will damage this portion of the guide pin if it's not positioned right. And let's just say you position it right here where this portion of the bracket is. If you basically overlap it right here, once you start compressing it, it will start to bend and you will damage it. Next, what we'll do is put on the main line for the brake fluid. So you'll need 2 gaskets, one on the outside of the bolt and one at the inside of the bolt, as you can see right there. And just basically guide it right there, just like that. And obviously the smaller hole is for that dowel, I would say it is.
Alright guys, so I got tired last night and didn't have the energy to keep on recording, so back at it again in the morning. So before anything else, before you take off this main line of the brake fluid, they sell these clamps right here at Harbor Freight. So basically what you do is insert it right here. And I'm loosening this guy a little bit, depending on how much you need. And it basically snaps right in. So once you start tighten this knob right here, it'll start to squeeze this and pinch the line, and preventing it from having a leak all over the place as soon as you take off the brake line hose. So that being said, you need to get this, and we're gonna bleed the system after. How you do it is very, very simple. Come to your reservoir, brake reservoir, take off the cap, leave it open so you can breathe. Now I bled this last night, so it's gonna come out really, really fast. And once you do this in the process of taking off the line and doing your thing right here and putting it back on after a few days, it's gonna take about, I would say, 10 minutes or 5 minutes, I would say, for it to start to squeeze out or bleed out some brake fluid. So what you do is basically open up the bleeder, which will be to my right for unloosening this thing, since I'm the opposite way. Now it's dripping. Once you see it dripping, give it another 2 minutes, let it drip so all the air could come out, and you got to make sure that the reservoir is full. Once it starts to drip for a couple minutes or even a few, just go ahead, just like that. Once it's dripping, go ahead and tighten it back up. I'm confused right now because I'm facing the opposite way. Now you tighten it, and be very careful with this because you can break it, so just don't over tighten it. And that is it. You bled the system. You don't need anybody to be inside the car at all. So it'll be gravity fed and all the air will come out and you're ready to go as soon as this starts to drip. So yeah, very simple, and just slap on the wheel and you're ready to go. So that'll do it for the video. If you have any comments or questions or anything, just leave them down below and I'll do my best to answer them quickly. If not, send me a message on Instagram and I'll be more than happy to respond to that. Other than that, hope you guys are doing well. Stay safe, wash your hands, do what you gotta do, wear a mask, and I'll see you guys soon. Thanks guys.